Isaac Voronovich Dugashvili was born on December 18, 1879 in Gori, Georgia. His father was a cobbler and died in 1891 when Dugashvili was 12 years old. His mother was very religious yet illiterate and sent him to theological seminary in Tuskegee, Georgia. There, he began to study Marxist literature and was expelled in 1899. He spent the next 15 years as an activist and was arrested and exiled to Siberia 7 times. He was enlisted into the Russian army to fight in World War I, but was considered unfit to fight because of his permanently injured left arm.
In 1912, Lenin recruited him into the Central Committee of the Bolshevik Party. 1 year later, in 1913, he changed his name to Joseph Stalin, which means man of steel. After Lenin died, Stalin took over in the early 1930s and became dictator. He was a very mean and cruel man. In 1934, he turned against the Communist Party and launched the Great Purge, a campaign of terror where any individual who threatened Stalin's power was to be eliminated. It ended in 1939, and by then, Stalin had gained total control of the Soviet government and the Communist Party, but was responsible for 8 to 13 million deaths.
Stalin also outlined 5-year plans to strengthen the national defense for the Soviet Union and to modernize it. The plan set very high goals to increase the output of steel, coal, oil, and electricity. However, the result was a shortage of goods. The agricultural revolution had the worst outcome for the Soviets when they started collective farming. The government seized over 25 million privately owned farms in the USSR. They then combined them into large government-owned farms.
Stalin thought that the modern machines on these farms would produce more goods and reduce the number of workers. In spite of that, peasants resisted and protested by destroying their crops and killing their farm stock. However, they were still forced onto collectivized farms by Stalin. As a result, 5 to 10 million peasants died. Stalin ordered an economic blockade on Berlin in 1948 to gain control of the whole city, but the Allies forced him to back down. In January 1953, a group of Jewish doctors from Moscow plotted against Stalin and planned to murder him, but on March 5, 1953, Stalin died of a brain hemorrhage, so the doctors' plots against him were ended. His body was placed in a tomb next to Lenin's body in Red Square, Moscow. Stalin left a legacy of execution and horror in the Soviet Union that will live for many more years to come.